After a dramatic 2022 season that had all the fans in a chokehold, we're finally entering the 2023 season with 6 of the 10 Formula One teams having new driver lineups. So sit back as we take a look at all the teams and their driver pairings while making calculated guesses about their performance in the next season. You don't want to miss this, so let's dive right in. Starting at number 10, we have Alex Albon and Logan Sargent. It was the tightest race of them all to see who could finish last, possibly the 10th placed squad at Williams. As with many other teams on this list, we had great praise for one driver, but doubts about the other. While Alex Albon thrives in the middle of the F1 field, he'll be forced to manage the team alongside a rookie who will have a steep learning curve. But there's a major advantage to be gained from this. Sargent's time in Williams' young driver system means the team understands exactly what it's receiving in any given scenario. Although the driver might be a risk, the team has worked with him for long enough to have him ready for F1. Moving on to number 9, we have Yuki Tsunoda and Nick DeVries. Some may see this as a welcome development, but we think everyone can agree that there's room for growth with this combo. Yet there are many unanswered questions about it. We still have our doubts about Tsunoda, but he performed far better in 2022 against a less motivated Gasly than he had against a highly driven Gasly in 2021. DeVries shouldn't have any trouble, but how quickly can he step into the shoes that Gasly left behind, and how high is the ceiling? The fact that DeVries excelled in his Formula One debut with Williams as Albon's replacement in the Italian Grand Prix at Monza suggests that we could see more of his stellar performance in the future. Since Monza was always going to be the best circuit of the season for that Williams car, we can't take too many implications from his great one-off performance there though. At number 8, we have Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu. Alfa Romeo's combo of Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu, who finished 8th on the list, received mixed reviews. Everyone knows Bottas has incredible speed, it's just that his racecraft and tire management are always up to par. Zhou, on the other hand, is completely upstanding. He just counts on Bottas being more receptive and helpful than usual. Some also argue that Zhou's debut year was more impressive than generally believed. That's fair, considering how well he performed in 2022 and showed he could handle F1. In order to keep his advantage against a driver he should be able to shade, Bottas will have to be on the ball at all times. In at number 7, we have Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg. Haas found success in 2022 by re-signing a budding talent from the 2010s to its Formula One team, so it has done the same thing again. Although this lineup isn't Haas's long-term goal, it should prove effective enough for them to finish in a stronger position than 2022. The simplest way to characterize Haas's 2023 lineup is a group of reliable veterans. Due to their respective demonstrated abilities in the midfield, this partnership should be able to outperform others with a larger gap between the two drivers. But it wouldn't shock us if this duo becomes 2023's biggest story. As a result of Hülkenberg's speed and experience, Magnussen should feel more pressure to perform, which should help him in a tough race. Racing with less attention to tire management can also help lessen one of Hülkenberg's main shortcomings. He's a terrific asset whose lack of podium finishes is unfairly exaggerated, provided he can get back to the form he showed before losing his Renault ride. But then there's Magnussen, who believes he can win against anyone. While it's true that both of these drivers have had their shot at F1 and have shown that they aren't quite ready for the big leagues, it begs the question, who else is out there who could perform the job better or who has more potential? In 2023, Haas would benefit most from having 2 veteran drivers on board. Coming up at number 6, we have Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. Not even stretching the truth, we can give you one reason why Aston Martin is so highly rated in this list: Fernando Alonso. Because of Alonso's stellar performance over the course of the past year, we assumed he would vault this team to the front. As much as possible, he raises the bar for this duo, and he'll serve as a superior baseline for Lance Stroll than a deteriorating Sebastian Vettel did over the previous 2 seasons. Stroll and Alonso have the largest gap in ability out of any of the 10 driver pairings we looked at. There's still some doubt about Stroll's racing abilities. Since then, he has experienced some rare success at best, but Alonso's presence on the squad may cause more friction, so the Aston Martin teammates may bump into each other more than once. So more excitement for the audience is on the cards. Moving on, at number 5, we have Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. The Plan C lineup of Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly could help Alpine reclaim 4th place, since both drivers have shown flashes of brilliance in the past. But if it becomes a consistent threat to win races, will either of these two be candidates for the championship? It's really unlikely. While making this video, the opinion that Alpine's 2 drivers show flashes of brilliance but ultimately really aren't top-tier prospective F1 champions came up time and time again. Overall, it looks like a quick but maybe brief duo. One of their drivers nearly matched Alonso's performance in a single race, but still has a tendency to disappear sometimes, while another is lightning fast when the car suits him, but struggles to recover when things aren't going his way. This pair has the potential to win on any given day, but neither one of them seems to have the full package, which is why they aren't starting higher on the grid. Next, at number 4, we have Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. McLaren's ranking can be broken down into two main categories. First would be the hopes attached to Lando, and second would be the trust they have in Piastri. Lando's a superstar driver who's close to joining F1's top group of drivers, but he's still waiting for a car that can match his skills. But will Piastri be able to take all of his success in junior racing and apply it to Formula One? In any case, if Oscar Piastri follows through on his pledge, the two will be a devastating duo. Piastri's undoubtedly incredibly skilled, but he's difficult to bank on as being the kind of supernova that other rookie F2 champions have demonstrated. McLaren is in good hands with Norris, though, as he brutally ended any remaining argument over whether or not Daniel Ricciardo belonged to Formula One's elite crop of drivers and instantly elevated himself to that status in the process. Next up at number 3, we have Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. This is the only leading lineup with a clear number 1 and number 2, yet both are class alternatives in those two brackets. Formula One has produced a true legend in Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez is more aimless than, say, Carlos Sainz, but he can be a terrific supporting player. Even though Verstappen and Perez almost gave Red Bull a 1-2 finish in the 2022 Drivers' Championship, we still think there's a big gap between these two drivers. Most would choose Verstappen as their number 1, but Perez isn't consistently near enough to him to make this a formidable duo. One is a major star, and the other is a local expert on the street circuit. Even if Perez isn't ranked on the level of the very best on the grid, he's not miles away in our judgment because Red Bull wasn't far behind the next team up in this ranking when the scores were calculated. Changes in Perez's reputation have resulted from his transition from a role as a midfield underdog hero with no pressure of expectation to a role in a championship-caliber club. At number 2, we have Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Although it was a difficult choice, we placed the Ferrari duo in second place for 2023. Since Charles Leclerc's top speed is slightly faster than Sainz's, the difference between them is small, and they're both capable of impressive results. They're second best to Mercedes in our opinion, but a healthy return of Charles Leclerc in 2023, with his hiccups ironed out, might put them on top. While Mercedes may have the best lineup, we believe that Sainz was the most remarkable driver down the stretch of the season, and that this team is the most well-rounded. Lastly, at number 1, we have George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. Most Formula One analysts agree that Mercedes' George Russell and Lewis Hamilton duo will be the best on the 2023 F1 grid. Even if this lineup was already the greatest at the beginning of 2022, by the end of the year, its superiority over the second-best team has grown even more pronounced. There isn't any team with two drivers who can match the heights of Russell and Hamilton. Mercedes obtains a superb blend of youth and experience with Hamilton and Russell because both drivers are extremely talented. This duo is the most evenly matched of 2022. It was no easy task, but Russell managed to keep Hamilton on his toes throughout all of 2022, ensuring that he remained a top 2 F1 driver in the eyes of most observers. Although their points differential makes it appear as though Mercedes has no chance against Ferrari's star driver, it's now obvious that Mercedes has a driver who can sometimes beat Ferrari's talisman in qualifying. The consensus is that Hamilton's slump had nothing to do with Russell's fast start at Mercedes, so Hamilton's speed hasn't diminished, and Russell showed in his first year with Mercedes that he's capable of performing at the highest levels. There's not much of a gap between Mercedes and Ferrari, but Hamilton lacks the rough edges that we occasionally saw from Leclerc in 2022, giving Mercedes the advantage going into 2023. That's a wrap for this video. Which of these driver pairings are you picking to dominate in 2023? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.